Mom said, "We're doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids. Yours can skip this year." My daughter started crying. I texted back, "Understood. I'll cancel my card for the event." They kept laughing, sending selfies at the table, totally unaware of what was about to happen next. "We're doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids this year. Yours can skip." My mother's text arrived at 4:37 p.m. on Tuesday, November 21st, 2023, 2 days before Thanksgiving, while I was making dinner in my small apartment in Schaumburg, Illinois. Spaghetti because it was cheap and my daughter Emma loved it, and because after paying everyone else's bills, I had $340 left for groceries until my next paycheck on Friday. The smiley face emoji sat at the end of the sentence like a knife wrapped in gift paper, like casual cruelty dressed up as reasonable boundaries, like my mother thought excluding a 7-year-old child from a family holiday was the kind of thing you could soften with a yellow cartoon face. Emma saw it over my shoulder. She'd been standing on her step stool helping me stir the sauce, wearing her favorite purple shirt with a unicorn on it, the one that was getting too small but I hadn't had money to replace yet. "Grandma doesn't want me at Thanksgiving?" Her voice cracked on the last word, went high and thin the way it does when she's trying not to cry but knows she's about to, when she's 7 years old and still learning that sometimes people who are supposed to love you decide you're not worth the effort. I pulled her close, my hands shaking, tomato sauce dripping from the spoon onto the linoleum floor I'd been meaning to replace for 2 years. "It's okay, baby. We'll have our own Thanksgiving, just you and me. It'll be better." But she was already crying, those big gulping sobs that come from somewhere deeper than disappointment, from the place where children store the understanding that they're different, and that difference makes them less wanted. I'm Rachel Morrison, 34 years old, single mother since Emma's father decided fatherhood wasn't for him when she was 6 months old, and I was still figuring out how to function on 3 hours of sleep. Administrative assistant at a dental office making $42,000 a year before taxes, which sounds like enough until you start subtracting rent, $1,450 for 2 bedrooms in a decent school district. Childcare, $800 even with the subsidized program. Utilities, food, Emma's therapy appointments, $90 copay twice a month for the ADHD specialist, her medications, $65 monthly even with insurance, and the endless stream of family obligations that had somehow become my responsibility to fund. The family disappointment, according to my mother's carefully worded comments at holidays and birthdays, and every time I showed up without a husband or a better job or a child who could sit still through a 3-hour dinner without asking 17 questions about why the turkey was dry, and where did pilgrims go to the bathroom, and could she please be excused to run around outside because sitting was making her legs feel itchy. My sister Victoria had perfect kids, 2 of them, Madison, age 9, and Harper, age 6. Quiet children who wore matching outfits from boutiques I couldn't afford, who said please and thank you without being reminded, who sat at the table with their hands folded and their mouths shut except when spoken to, who made my mother beam with the kind of pride she'd never quite managed to show for Emma. Victoria lived in Naperville in a 4-bedroom house her husband Derek's pharmaceutical sales job paid for, drove a white BMW X5, posted Instagram photos of their perfect family dinners with captions like, "Blessed beyond measure, your family first, Chuck's grateful heart." Emma was loud, energetic, asked too many questions, couldn't sit still through a movie or a meal or a church service without fidgeting, bouncing, needing to move, because her brain was wired differently and sitting still felt like being trapped. At 6, she'd been diagnosed with ADHD, combined presentation, the doctor had said, which meant both the hyperactivity and the attention problems, which meant medication and therapy and a 504 plan at school and endless patience that I'd learned to have but my family had decided wasn't worth developing. Mom called her exhausting. Victoria called her a handful. At last Christmas, my mother had actually said to my face in front of Emma, "Some children just aren't raised with proper discipline." Like Emma's neurodevelopmental disorder was a personal failing I could have corrected with stricter bedtimes and fewer participation trophies. I texted back with hands that were shaking so hard I had to retype twice. "Understood. I'll cancel my card for the event." 3 dots appeared immediately, bouncing on the screen like my mother was typing something, probably a clarification or a justification or maybe even an apology, but then they disappeared. Nothing. Radio silence. She'd read my message and decided it didn't require a response, that excluding my daughter from Thanksgiving was so obviously reasonable that my cryptic reply about canceling a card wasn't worth addressing. An hour later, the photos started flooding in. The family group chat, Morrison family, that I'd muted months ago but still checked compulsively like picking at a scab. Victoria at the table of the vacation rental in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, the one they'd booked for the long weekend, the one with the view of the lake and the gourmet kitchen and the stone fireplace. The table was set with fall decorations, gourds and those artificial leaves that look more perfect than real ones, fancy place settings, a massive turkey cookie that must have cost $80 at Whole Foods. Mom was in the photo too, beaming, her arm around Victoria, both of them holding wine glasses. The caption, "So peaceful without the chaos. Thanksgiving, family, blessed." Another photo came through 3 minutes later, the whole family around the table, Victoria and Derek and their perfect children, my mother, Victoria's in-laws who'd apparently been invited to fill the seats Emma and I would have occupied. Everyone smiling, everyone dressed in coordinating fall colors like they'd planned it, like this was a photo shoot instead of a family dinner. The caption made my stomach turn, grateful for well-behaved blessings. Some years you just need peace, family time, gratitude, no children left behind. The hashtag was particularly cruel. A joke about leaving children behind while literally leaving my child behind. Emma saw them. She'd grabbed my phone to play a game while I finished cooking, and she'd opened the messages before I could stop her, and she started sobbing, not the gentle tears from earlier, but deep, wrenching sobs that shook her whole small body. "Why don't they want me, Mommy? What did I do wrong? I can be good, I promise. I can sit still, I can be quiet." And I held her on the kitchen floor with tomato sauce burning on the stove and my own tears mixing with hers. Because how do you explain to a 7-year-old that some people's love is conditional, that family doesn't always mean what we want it to mean, that her grandmother had chosen a peaceful dinner over her granddaughter's heart? I got Emma calm eventually, put on her favorite movie, made hot chocolate with the expensive mix I saved for bad days, sat with her until she fell asleep on the couch with her head in my lap. Then I opened my banking app. They had no idea what card I meant. They had no idea what they'd just done. For 3 years, since Emma's father left and I'd moved back to Illinois to be closer to family, since my father had died of a heart attack and left my mother with a mortgage she couldn't afford, since I'd made the mistake of being the responsible one, the one who showed up, the one who said yes when everyone else said it wasn't their problem, I'd been paying for everything, quietly, without complaint, because family helps family, right? Because that's what you do when someone needs help and you're the only one who can give it, even when giving it means your own kid wears shoes that are too small and you eat ramen 3 nights a week and you haven't bought yourself new clothes in 2 years. Mom's mortgage, $2,400 monthly. The house in Arlington Heights that she and Dad had bought in 1995, that was in her name but had been refinanced in 2019 with me as a co-borrower because her credit had tanked after Dad's medical bills and she couldn't qualify a loan. I'd been making the payments directly from my account for 36 months. Total, $86,400. Victoria's car lease, $680 monthly. The white BMW X5 she drove to her perfect playgroups and her perfect grocery store. I'd co-signed 18 months ago when her credit score had mysteriously dropped. Something about late payments on credit cards, something about Derek's business expenses that I'd never gotten a straight answer about. Total, $12,240. Family cell phone plan, $340 monthly for all 5 lines. Mom's phone, Victoria's phone, Derek's phone, even Victoria's kids' phones, because everyone needs to stay connected. And somehow I was the one who'd ended up as the account holder. 3 years, $12,240. Mom's supplemental health insurance, $290 monthly because Medicare didn't cover everything and she needed her medications and her doctor's appointments. 2 years of payments, $6,960, and the vacation rental they were sitting in right now, the one on the lake with the gourmet kitchen and the perfect view, the one they were using to celebrate a Thanksgiving my daughter wasn't invited to. $3,200 for the 4-day weekend, charged to my credit card 3 weeks ago when Victoria had called and said, "Mom really needs this, Rachel. It's been such a hard year for her. Can you help us out just this once?" Except it was never just once. It was always one more thing, one more charge, one more payment that I made because saying no meant being selfish, meant being the bad daughter, meant letting the family down. Total. I'd paid in 3 years, $121,040 on a salary of $42,000 a year before taxes. I'd done the math once, late at night when Emma was asleep, and I was staring at my bank balance trying to figure out how to afford her birthday party, and I'd realized I'd given my family more than twice my annual take-home pay. I'd been living on credit cards and hope and the occasional overtime shift, telling myself it was temporary, that they'd get back on their feet, that family was worth the sacrifice. Except when it came to my daughter. When it came to Emma, family meant exclusion. Family meant well-behaved kids only. Family meant posting photos designed to hurt, captioned with hashtags meant to mock. I opened my laptop, started clicking through accounts. Each action was deliberate, calm, the kind of calm that comes after crying yourself empty and realizing you're done. Not angry, not emotional, just finished. First, the mortgage account. I'd been making payments directly from my checking account via automatic transfer. I logged into the mortgage company's website, removed the automatic payment, removed my account information entirely, sent a formal letter through their online system. I am no longer authorized to make payments on this account. Please direct all future correspondence to the primary borrower, Linda Morrison. The next payment was due in 6 days on November 28th. They'd have a 15-day grace period before late fees kicked in. Second, Victoria's car lease. I called the leasing company, Capital Auto Leasing, and after 20 minutes of hold music and explaining the situation to 3 different representatives, I finally reached someone who could help. I need to terminate my co-signature on account number 847-2940-3317. I was told when I co-signed that it would be for 6 months, while the primary lessee improved her credit. It's been 18 months. I'm formally requesting removal as co-signer. The representative was sympathetic. She'd heard versions of this story before. We'll process the removal, but the primary lessee will need to qualify independently. If she can't, the lease will go into default. I understand, I said. When's her next payment due? November 26th, 2 days from now. Thank you. Third, the cell phone plan. I was the account holder, which meant I had complete control. I logged into Verizon's website and navigated to the account management page. Canceled 4 of the 5 lines, Mom's, Victoria's, Derek's, and Madison's line that Victoria had added last year because she needs a phone for emergencies. Effective immediately. Confirmation emails sent to my address only. The only line I kept active was my own. Fourth, Mom's supplemental insurance. I called the insurance company and explained that I'd been paying premiums for a policyholder who wasn't my dependent, that I needed to remove my payment method from the account. The policy will lapse if the premiums aren't paid by December 1st, the representative warned. I understand, I said. Fifth, and this was the one that made me smile for the first time in hours, the vacation rental. I called Luxury Lakeside Rentals, the property management company that handled the Lake Geneva house, and explained the situation carefully, precisely. I need to dispute a charge on my credit card. The card was used without my explicit authorization for this specific transaction. I gave general permission for emergency family expenses, but a luxury vacation rental doesn't qualify. I'm requesting a full refund and immediate cancellation of the reservation. There was a pause. Ma'am, the property is currently occupied. The guests checked in yesterday. I understand. I'm disputing the charge as unauthorized use of my credit card. What's your policy? Another pause. Longer this time. The sound of typing. We'll process the refund and cancel the reservation. The guests will need to vacate the property. How immediately? I asked, and my voice was steady, cold, certain. They'll need to vacate within 2 hours of notification. I smiled, the first real smile since Emma had started crying. Perfect. Thank you for your help. Then I went through my phone and blocked every number. Mom's cell, Victoria's cell, Derek's cell, the house phone I'd been paying for. Blocked them on text, on calls, on every social media platform I could think of. I didn't need to hear the justifications, the anger, the inevitable accusations that I was being selfish and cruel and destroying the family. I'd heard enough. Emma and I made turkey sandwiches for dinner. The spaghetti had burned while I was on the phone, but turkey sandwiches felt appropriately ironic. We watched Encanto because Emma loved the music and I needed to see her smile. She fell asleep happy on the couch, her small hand in mine, and I covered her with the blanket my grandmother had made before she died, the only family heirloom I'd managed to keep. I slept like a baby that night, deep, dreamless sleep, the kind I hadn't had in 3 years. Friday morning, Black Friday ironically, my email exploded. 47 unread messages, all from the same sender, Morrison and Associates, attorneys at law. The subject line, financial abandonment and breach of verbal contract. I opened it with coffee in hand, Emma still sleeping in her room, morning light coming through the window of our small apartment that I could actually afford, now that I wasn't supporting 4 other adults. The letter was formal, threatening, full of legal language clearly designed to intimidate. My mother had retained an attorney, probably paid for with money she didn't have, or more likely money Victoria had fronted, to sue me for financial abandonment and breach of verbal contract. They claimed I'd made verbal promises to continue financial support, that I'd created reasonable expectations of ongoing assistance, that my sudden withdrawal of funds constituted actionable harm. They were demanding I resume all payments immediately and compensate them for damages, the mortgage late fees, Victoria's car repossession costs, the cell phone reconnection fees, the cost of the canceled vacation rental. I called my attorney, David Chen. We'd gone to high school together. He'd been in marching band. I'd been in choir. We'd reconnected on Facebook 3 years ago and had gotten coffee a few times when our schedules aligned. He did family law now, had his own small practice in Palatine. David, I said when he answered, my voice steadier than I expected. I need help. My family is threatening to sue me. For what? He sounded genuinely confused. Financial abandonment. They're saying I made verbal promises to keep paying their bills forever, and I can't stop without notice. He laughed. Actually laughed. A short bark. spark of disbelief. Rachel, let them try. You were never legally obligated to pay for any of that. Verbal contracts require consideration, something of value exchanged. What did you receive in return for paying their mortgages and car leases? Nothing, just family, being part of the family, which isn't legal consideration. They can't enforce this. Do you have records of the payments? 3 years of bank statements, every transaction documented. Send me everything, every statement, every text asking for money, every email, every message. I want a complete paper trail. I spent 3 hours compiling everything. Bank statements showing the mortgage payments, the car lease payments, the phone bills, the insurance premiums, the vacation rental charge. Text messages from Victoria. Can you cover my car payment this month? Derek's commission was late again. Mom's insurance is due. Can you handle it? She's been so stressed. Just put the rental on your card. We'll pay you back. They never did. Messages from my mother. I don't know how I'd survive without you, honey. You're the only one who really helps. Victoria tries, but she has her own family to think about. You understand. Email chains about refinancing the house, co-signing the lease, adding lines to the phone plan. And then I included something else. Something I hadn't planned to send but realized was the nuclear option they'd forced me to use. Every cruel text message, every dismissive comment, every screenshot of the Thanksgiving photos with their mocking captions. The message from Mom. We're doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids. Yours can skip this year. The group chat photos. So peaceful without the chaos. Grateful for well-behaved blessings. Messages from 6 months ago when Emma had had a meltdown at a family dinner. Can't you control your child, Rachel? This is exactly why we can't take you anywhere nice. Messages from last Christmas. Emma needs more discipline. Some children are just too much work. And the final piece, the one I'd sent to my mother a year ago, and she'd never acknowledged. Emma's ADHD diagnosis from Dr. Patricia Sullivan, developmental pediatrician, dated November 2022. The comprehensive evaluation showing Emma's struggles weren't behavioral problems or bad parenting, but a neurological condition requiring understanding, accommodation, and support. I'd sent it to my mother with a long message explaining what it meant, asking for patience, hoping for compassion. She'd read it, the red receipt confirmed, and never responded. And 11 months later, she'd called Emma badly behaved and excluded her from Thanksgiving. I sent everything to David at 2:47 p.m. At 6:15 p.m., he called me back. Rachel, I've drafted a response to their attorney. I'm sending it now. You should know. This is going to end the relationship with your family. Permanently. I know, I said. That's the point. His response letter was 17 pages. I read it twice, marveling at the cold precision of legal language wielded by someone who actually gave a damn. The first section methodically destroyed their claim. No legal obligation, no enforceable verbal contract, voluntary gifts that could be stopped at any time for any reason. The second section detailed exactly what I'd paid over 3 years, $121,140 in total, itemized by category, with bank statements attached as exhibits. The third section was where David went for blood. My client provided substantial financial support to your clients over a 3-year period, totaling $121,040. This support was voluntary and without any expectation of repayment or continued obligation. Your client's claim of abandonment is contradicted by their own treatment of my client's 7-year-old daughter, Emma Morrison, who has documented ADHD. See attached medical records from Dr. Patricia Sullivan, dated November 14, 2022. Despite being made aware of Emma's diagnosis, records show my client sent detailed medical documentation to Mrs. E. Linda Morrison on November 20, 2022, via email with read receipt confirmed. Your clients continued to characterize the child as badly behaved, exhausting, and a source of chaos. Most recently, your clients excluded Emma from a family Thanksgiving celebration, citing a need for well-behaved kids only. See attached text messages. They then posted photographs of this celebration to social media with captions explicitly mocking the child's exclusion. See attached screenshots. This constitutes emotional distress and disability discrimination against a minor child. Illinois law prohibits discrimination based on disability status, including in familial relationships where such discrimination causes measurable harm. We are prepared to pursue a counterclaim for emotional distress damages on behalf of Emma Morrison, minor child, reimbursement of all financial contributions made under false pretenses of family inclusion, $121,040, punitive damages for disability discrimination against a minor, legal fees and court costs. Furthermore, we are prepared to make these claims a matter of public record. All text messages, social media posts, and documentation of your client's treatment of a disabled child will be submitted as court exhibits, accessible to media and public scrutiny. We will also notify relevant disability advocacy organizations and media outlets covering family discrimination cases. My client seeks no further contact with your clients. If your clients drop drop this frivolous lawsuit immediately and agree in writing to make no further contact with my client or her minor daughter, we will refrain from pursuing the counterclaim. If your clients proceed with litigation, we will pursue every available remedy to the fullest extent of the law and ensure their treatment of a disabled child becomes a matter of comprehensive public record. You have 48 hours to confirm in writing that this matter is closed. After that time, we proceed to filing. David's letter ended with a sentence that I read 3 times, each time feeling something like vindication settle in my chest. Consider your client's claimed family obligations satisfied, permanently. The response came in 4 hours. A terse email from Morrison & Associates. Our clients have elected to withdraw their claim. Please consider this matter closed. No apology, no acknowledgement, just retreat. That Saturday, my mother showed up at my door. I watched her through the peephole. Alone, no Victoria, no lawyer, just her standing on my doorstep in her coat that I recognized because I'd helped her buy it 2 years ago at Macy's during a sale. She knocked 3 times, waited, knocked again. Rachel, I know you're home. Please, can we talk? I opened the door but stood in the frame, blocking entry. No, Rachel, please. I made a mistake. You made a choice, a deliberate choice, after you knew about Emma's diagnosis. Her face went white, the color draining like I'd slapped her. I forgot about. You didn't forget. I sent you a 16-page medical evaluation. You read it. You had the read receipt turned on, so I know you read it on November 20th, 2022 at 3:42 p.m. And for a year after that, you kept calling Emma badly behaved. You kept excluding her. You kept making comments about my parenting. You knew she had ADHD and you called her badly behaved anyway. I didn't understand what it meant. Then you should have asked. You should have called. You should have done literally anything other than exclude your granddaughter from Thanksgiving and post photos mocking her disability on social media. Tears filled her eyes, which might have moved me 3 years ago, might have made me back down and apologize and resume payments and swallow my anger like I'd swallowed everything else. Let me fix this, please. Let me apologize to Emma. Let me make this right. You can't. Emma needs her grandmother. Emma needs people who don't mock her disability in group texts. Emma needs people who love her even when she's loud and energetic and asks too many questions. Emma needs family who show up for her, not family she has to be perfect for. You're not that person. Victoria's not that person. I've spent 3 years and $121,000 hoping you could be, and you've shown me exactly who you are. She froze, her face going from pale to red. How did you? The attorney, he said. My attorney found everything, every message, every laugh, every cruel joke about my problem child and my exhausting daughter, and how peaceful Thanksgiving was without the chaos. Every screenshot of Emma's diagnosis that you read and ignored, all of it's documented now. All of it's ready to become public record if you ever contact us again. She stood there shaking, her hands clutching her purse like it was the only solid thing left. The mortgage is 3 months behind, she whispered, and it sounded like a plea, like she thought this information would move me. Victoria's car got repossessed. Our phones don't work. We had to leave the rental. They made us leave in the middle of Thanksgiving, Rachel. It was humiliating. Sounds peaceful, I said, and I didn't smile, didn't feel victorious, just felt tired and done. You're destroying this family. No, I'm protecting mine. Emma is my family. You're just people who share my DNA and my last name and who spent 3 years taking my money while excluding my daughter. Rachel, please. I closed the door, not slamming it. That would have been dramatic, emotional, the kind of reaction she could use to paint me as unstable or vindictive. I just closed it, quiet and final, and turned the lock with a click that sounded like punctuation on a sentence that had gone on too long. Through the window, I watched her walk away, her shoulders hunched against the cold November wind, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even relief. Just the quiet certainty that I'd done what I should have done 3 years ago. Emma came downstairs, hearing the knock, curious about the visitor. Who was that? Nobody important, baby. That night, Victoria texted from a new number, probably a prepaid phone, probably borrowed from a friend, definitely not on my bill anymore. Hope you're happy. Mom's losing the house. My credit is ruined. Derek's furious. The car's gone. You destroyed everything we built. Everything Dad worked for. You're not family anymore, you're dead to us. I stared at the message for a long time, reading it twice, 3 times, waiting to feel something, guilt or grief or anger or vindication. Instead, I just felt calm. I typed back, "You destroyed my daughter's Thanksgiving because she has ADHD. You called her badly behaved after reading her diagnosis. You posted photos mocking her. I just stopped paying for the privilege." Sent. Blocked the number. Emma climbed into my lap, her small, warm weight anchoring me to something real. "Can we do Thanksgiving with just us next year, too?" she asked. I kissed her head, breathed in the smell of her strawberry shampoo, the cheap kind from Target that she loved because it came in a bottle shaped like a strawberry. "Every year, baby, just you and me. That's all the family we need." My phone buzzed one last time. David had sent one more thing, a final message to Morrison and Associates, CC'd to my mother and Victoria, with a bill attached. For 3 years of unpaid financial support, loans, his letter called them, because that's how the law would see them if this ever went to court, calculated with reasonable interest rates for unsecured personal loans, totaling all payments I'd made, plus accrued interest. Total, $138,947. The message ended with one line that I read out loud to Emma, even though she was too young to understand. "Consider your family obligations satisfied, permanently. Any future contact will result in immediate legal action to collect the full amount owed. This constitutes formal notice." Emma looked up at me with her big brown eyes, her face serious. "Does that mean they're not going to be mean to me anymore?" "That means," I said, holding her tight, "they're not going to be anything to you anymore. Because we don't need people who make you feel bad. We just need each other." She smiled, and it was the first real smile I'd seen on her face in days, and in that moment, I knew I'd made the right choice. Not the easy choice. There would be whispers at family gatherings I'd never attend, gossip in social circles I'd been excluded from anyway, probably some family members who'd think I was cruel or vindictive or cold. But I didn't need to be warm to people who'd thrown my daughter away like she was defective merchandise. I just needed to be her mother, to be the wall between her and everyone who couldn't see how brilliant and beautiful and perfectly imperfect she was. 3 years and $121,040. That was the price of learning who my real family was. And it turned out, my real family was sleeping in my lap right now, drooling slightly on my shirt, safe and loved and wanted. Everything else was just noise,